What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hoop Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, Isaac, and today we're going to be talking about dynasties formed through free agency and how the NBA was ruined by these. After LeBron decided to go to the Miami Heat in the summer of 2010, this caused many other superstars to leave their team they were drafted by to form what we would call super teams or dynasties. So my question is, did LeBron ruin the NBA? After LeBron made the switch, we really saw like big players like Kevin Durant go to the Warriors, then the Nets. We seen Kawhi Leonard go to the Clippers. We seen Kyrie Irving go to the Celtics and then the Nets. We've seen Chris Paul go to the Clippers, and obviously there's more, but those are some big names that I can think of off the top of my head that we seen go to different teams through free agency to try to form these great super teams. Before LeBron did this, it was like obviously players would like switch teams, but it was more towards like the end of their career. LeBron did this to form the super team with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And it was a great team, but I think that I would have rather seen LeBron stay with the Cavaliers instead of going to the Heat, just because I feel like the NBA would be so much different if players didn't go, like if it wasn't just like people weren't trying to form super teams, you know what I'm saying? So like for example, Michael Jordan didn't leave the Bulls until the end of his career when he went to the Wizards, and he played there for a couple years, but it was like the end of his career. Or like Scottie Pippen went to the Trailblazers toward the end of his career. Like all the like the older players mostly went to like these other teams when they started to get older, and they just wanted to be on a different team, but it wasn't like during their prime. The first player I want to talk about who left the team that they were drafted by to go to a better team to form the super team is Kevin Durant. He's one of the biggest players that we've seen do this in the 2010s. Kevin Durant left the Thunder, who drafted him, to go play for the Warriors, and he did this to create that big four with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and himself. This was one of the greatest teams in NBA history, but would Kevin Durant still be on the Thunder if LeBron never left the Cavs to go to the Heat? Because, like I just said, it was like a chain reaction. Like after LeBron did it, like all these other players started to do it. The Warriors team with those four players, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant, went 73-9 one year, proving how much of a dynasty it was. Which, it's really just unfair to the other teams because like the player moving from team to team is really deciding what teams are actually good. Because if Kevin Durant went to like he went to the Miami Heat and played with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, if he was still there, that means that he is going to make the Miami Heat better because he's joining them instead of just staying with his old team because he wants to win a championship. So really, it comes down to chasing championships, which really it wasn't something that most players did like before LeBron did it. The next player I want to talk about is Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi left the Raptors to go to the Clippers to try to form a dynasty with Paul George, but it didn't really work out because Kawhi's really been out for a lot of the season. Like last season, he was out the whole season. This season, he's been out quite a bit, and Paul George has also had some injuries. And he still hasn't been as good as he was he was on the Thunder. Like he was so much better on the Thunder than he is now, who traded him away to the Clippers. But it didn't really work out for Kawhi. They didn't really form that super team that he thought they were going to have. And this was after Kawhi had been drafted by the Spurs and traded to the Raptors for DeMar DeRozan. And then after that, he ended up leaving the Raptors. But the Clippers are still a solid playoff team right now. But they're definitely not as good as Kawhi and Paul George thought they were going to be. They thought it was going to be like a really solid championship contender team. But, I mean, the Clippers have never made the finals, which is crazy. The next player I want to talk about, another player who's really known for moving around teams and stuff, Kyrie Irving. After being drafted to the Cavs and then eventually winning a ring with LeBron, after LeBron returned to Cleveland, Kyrie stayed in the East but went to the Celtics, where he played 2 solid seasons, averaging around 24 points both seasons with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown before leaving again. Then he went to the Brooklyn Nets, who would also get Kevin Durant and James Harden. But the trio only played 16 whole games together due to injuries, and all 3 were eventually traded away. We've seen James Harden traded away last season to the 76ers. This season, we've seen Kyrie traded away to the Mavs, and then not long after, we've seen Kevin Durant traded away to the Suns. Kyrie Irving's a phenomenal player, but after his run with the Cavs and LeBron James, he started going all around Celtics, Nets, and now he's on the Mavs. But that he got traded to the Mavs. He didn't leave the Nets in free agency to go to the Mavs, to be clear. One more player I want to talk about is Chris Paul. Really, I would say it was a smart decision by him. He left the New Orleans, what were they at the time? They might have been the Pelicans. But he left New Orleans to go to the Clippers to play with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan. And in my opinion, this team should have won a championship. They were a great team. They had a phenomenal chemistry. But they never even made the finals. Like I said, the Clippers have never been to the finals. I don't know how they didn't make the finals. Blake Griffin was really explosive before injuries, and Chris Paul is an amazing point guard. So I really wish that they could have stayed together. And that was one trio, him, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan, that I really like to watch old highlights of, because they were a really good team. But that's one of the only dynasties that I really like that were formed through free agency like this, because it really just like I said, it ruined the game a lot, and the NBA would be way different. I feel like most teams would be pretty even right now if the NBA wasn't just all about forming super teams. So for those players who stayed with the team they were drafted by, like Steph Curry, for example, or Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Karl Anthony Towns, and other players in that position, Zach LaVine, thank you for not continuing that pattern of leaving your team to go play with other superstars, because especially Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has been on the Trailblazers. They haven't been great the last few years, but he still hasn't just left the team. And same thing for Giannis Antetokounmpo. They weren't great at all in his younger years, and then he waited it out and players got better. He got better. He got better players around him, and the Bucks are a great team now. Or Karl Anthony Towns, the Timberwolves have been okay, but definitely not the greatest team. But he still stayed with them, even though he could have probably went to better teams than the Timberwolves. That's going to be it for today's episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did LeBron ruin the NBA? And if you enjoyed, hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next episode of the Hoops and Stuff podcast.